If you've got £200 to get started selling on Amazon and you want to scale to six figures, then oh my God, today you want to be watching this interview because I am interviewing the man who is on the journey to make it happen, and he's documenting everything. Stay tuned. I think you're going to like this one. Des, thank you so much for joining me. Obviously, a fellow Englishman. I absolutely love it. If anyone doesn't know who you are, can you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey so far?
Thanks for having me on. Real pleasure to be here. So my name's Des. Yeah, on my TikToks, on my socials, I'm known as Goodbye Poor, Hello Rich. For the first couple of months, a lot of people thought my name was Rich, but I'm actually Des. I'm 43 years old. I work full time. I'm a dad of 4 kids, and I started doing this as the fabled side hustle, which turned into a fully fledged business about 2 weeks later. I started a challenge, Tom. I started a challenge in September 2022 after Liz Truss, our Prime Minister at the time, she was Prime Minister for about 6 weeks, and she blew the economy and everyone's bills went through the roof. The day after she did that, my wife and I went, right, let's have a go. Let's take £100 and see what we can do with it. And again, I laid out the numbers and I thought it would take me roughly 2 years to turn this into £100,000 if I compound it 30% each month. We won't take anything out. Everything will get ploughed back in. We'll do it using Amazon Arbitrage to get things started, and we'll run it. About 3 weeks in, we realised that £100 was too little. Cash flow was killing us, so we just threw another £100 on top of it, and it turned into 200. And that was us, and here we are.
That's 11 months ago that you started doing that, is that right?
Yeah, so I think we're nearly a year to the day. I think it might be something, or maybe the 25th or something like that of September. We're getting very close.
You're documenting this challenge, £200 to 100,000, which is incredible, by the way. Tell me about that. Like, why create this challenge? Why those numbers? Tell me about the thought process behind it.
I knew something needed to be done, and we knew that we just had enough of being a cog in the wheel. We'd been a part of the machine. I'm not going to call it the Matrix, I'm not that guy, but we were part of the system over in England. My wife and I are both educated. We both got our university degrees. She's a secondary school teacher, so she's been public sector. I've been public sector, police officer, and now I'm a civil servant. We're not given the nice things we were told we were going to be given. We aren't living the life society told us we should be living. And we had churned a really good career, Tom, I've got 25 years doing what I'm doing, and I used to say it with pride, I'm earning over £50,000 a year. I take home over £3,000 a month. Now I've been doing this, £3,000 a month. It's a drop in the ocean to what's actually achievable. So what we did is basically we took the £200 because that was all we could afford to take out of the account. Everything else is tied up in mortgage and bills and loans and all sorts of childcare arrangements. So we took whatever we had and said, right, let's make the most of what we've got. So I started documenting it as a means to bring in other income streams at the same time. So I did my research, I did my plans, and I thought, right, I can't just do this with Amazon alone. It will need to be several pronged just in the event one of them fails, because I'm doing all of these brand new from scratch. So let's just throw everything out there, but do it properly. So we did it properly. We planned it all. We wrote my strategy down. I wrote my target audience. Started with TikTok purely because none of my friends and family are on TikTok, so I wanted to remain anonymous. To this day, mark this date, because my work still don't know that I do this. Honestly, the day I put my notice in, I can't wait to see their faces. So I went on TikTok, I put an anonymous picture up. Called myself Goodbye Poor, Hello Rich. I didn't put the name Des anywhere near it for the first 6 months. And got going. And then the TikTok blew up. I think the first 2 videos went viral. Everything went great, and before you know it, people are saying to me, start a Facebook channel, start a YouTube channel, start this stuff. So I just sort of responded to demand. It's gone crazy, Tom. What are we on now? 80,000 followers over the various platforms, and we're over £17,000 now from the 200. Roughly averaging, I think we're averaging about 48% each as out in total over the month.
Maybe for my non-UK viewers, I think after that whole Liz Truss thing, and then I think it was like the war in Ukraine, costs just started to go through the roof in the UK. Like energy bills, I think my sister was telling me, it was like it went from 400 to 1,600. It was like, what the hell? And you were talking about like your salary, and that's a good salary in the UK. I think the average salary is like 30,000, if that makes so it's not like, it's a good salary, but still like cost of living just went through the roof.
Yeah, exactly right. So if you think that my take home was about £3,000, our mortgage shot up to 1,500. So straight away, that's half of our salary in the mortgage. That's before we even buy a loaf of good bread. And then throw on top childcare arrangements and like even the nursery, they want, it works out something like £200 a month for 1 day a week. So just these things just keep chipping away, but we were just running out.
I really understand. I remember when I was in university, and I unfortunately didn't graduate through my own lack of work ethic, should we say? Not
I barely graduated. I barely, but yeah.
But it was like, I think we were on the student loans where it went from, we had it for free, and then the year after or 2 years later they had to start paying. But what was really interesting was the fact that when we went into university, it was like, oh, you're going to come out of university with a degree and you're going to have this amazing job and amazing life. And it was kind of like, as I was kind of in university, that all changed, and we started to see the reality was like, yeah, this isn't like what we were led to believe, and like our life isn't going to be like incredible, like we're going to be investment banker rich. Like, no, not at all. Like, this is going to be hard. And I completely fell out of like, I thought like what I'd been told wasn't true, and hence the whole kind of entrepreneurial journey a couple of years later. But yeah, really, really interesting. So you said it, you tried many different models, or you looked at different models. Tell me about that. What was the analysis? What did you look at? Like, and why did you choose Amazon? Why not all the other ones?
Yeah, no, good question. So what happened was, so we started in September, but scaled all the way back to the start of the year. My wife and I, we had just finished our honeymoon. We got married on New Year's Eve. We had just finished our honeymoon. Thank you very much. And we were sat down talking about ways to make money. We knew that the internet was a resource that we hadn't looked at initially. Because my generation, you want to earn extra money, you learn how to drive a cab, or you learn how to wash windows or walk dogs. You don't learn how to learn things on the internet. So what we went is, right, let's explore this. Look what all of this money people are making, especially on YouTube. So my wife went down the match betting route and surveys, eBay selling the old tat in the house. And I started looking at online entrepreneur e-commerce stuff. And I went down various rabbit holes, Tom. I went down the private label one, got myself a Jungle Scout subscription, took their academy, which was very good, by the way. But here I was like a month later, then realising, I haven't got £5,000 to send to China on stock. Let's knock that on the head. Then I thought, right, what can I do cheap? So I looked at print on demand, the old Kindle direct publishing, doing low content books and things, designing those. I looked at drop shipping, which was, again, all of these things you just need to invest a lot of time and a lot of money, and there's no guarantee. All of it is a huge leap of faith. And then I ended up, a slave to the algorithms, and all of a sudden YouTube ads were pelting at me, Forex trading, ghostwriting Audible books and all sorts of nonsense. But then I stumbled on Amazon online and retail arbitrage, something you could do with a small amount of money. You see results within 3 weeks, and you don't have to spend a lot of money to see those results, especially if you start with like a used book or something like that. So I thought, well, why not? I'll give it a go. I went down the local supermarket and I found some dog food pouches, 12 of them, 12 pouches. They were £3.65 and they were selling for about £13. So I threw those in. They all sold in about a week, and I had my first replay. And that went for about 4 months. But it was just that quicker gratification, instant feedback about whether something is right or not. And then the penny drops. This one isn't a scam. This one isn't something that I can be sold down the river for thousands of pounds and then look back and wonder where my money went. This is a genuine thing that we can scale up and compound it. So that's when the challenge was born. I'll just compound everything. And if 30% ROI is a reasonable ROI to look for when you're sourcing products, let's go for a 30% compounding growth. And away we went.
I think that was the same thing for me when I looked at the business model. It's the fact that you could get the feedback quickly and with low initial upfront cost. And by the way, like people sit there like, I don't want to do OA, I want to do wholesale, and I want to do private label because I want to build a real business that makes a lot more money. I'm like, you know what? Just make some money to start with, and then you can worry about the next parts. But like, if you want an interesting stat, 2/3 of Amazon sellers, 2/3 of Amazon accounts never sell anything. They get created, but they never sell. And it's like, whoa. Like,
that's incredible, isn't it?
Yeah. And I think, another kind of interesting stat is the top this is on like podcasts, for example, the top 0.01% of podcasts create more than 21 podcasts. The majority of them don't even get to 21. So I know you do a podcast, and we'll talk about that later on, but like, it's just amazing how many people want to start things but don't actually do it. So the question for you is, tell me about, like, you wanted to start something. Why didn't you just do all the research and then that was it, and then complain about the world? What made you actually start this whole process? And by the way, you're documenting as well, which is putting yourself out there, which is scary as hell.
Yeah, thank you. To be honest with you, that was what it was. I thought, if I'm going to do it, and my wife and I, we had decided we were going to do it back in December. I just knew I needed to find the right thing. And I thought, right, if we're going to do it, we're going to go all in and we're going to make ourselves accountable. And again, that was one of the reasons why I decided to document it, almost to hold myself accountable. A little while ago, I did like a weight loss thing with my friends and family, and I started an Instagram page just to hold myself to account. I dropped about 2 stone. I mean, you want to look at it now, I'll probably put it all back, but it worked. And I thought the same sort of concept there, you know. Let's document it. Let's put ourselves out there. Let's stop moaning about our lives and actually do something about it. That is one of the most important things that I can recommend to anybody in any walk of life. There's so much negativity in the world at the moment, and so much of it can be solved within yourself. If you just look inside yourself and think, right, I'm in a fixed mindset there, I need to flip that and get out of my comfort zone to make my life better. It's free. It doesn't cost anything. All it does is improve you as a person.
If anyone right now is, hey Des, it sounds great. Like, I love the idea of Amazon, but I'm just finding it really hard to start. Like, what advice would you have for them about getting started? Like, we talked about it off air. You said it. No one is here to help me. If I don't help myself, it's not going to happen. Like, how did you break that habit? How did you get started on this new kind of business that you never went to school for? It's hard.
Once I realised that I could do it, and once I realised that those dog pouches sold, it was a case of, right, let's get into it. And it became an obsession. I decided that I knew I needed to write down my schedule, write down what habits I wanted to implement. I went out of my way and read books. We talked about Rich Dad, Poor Dad. The Mindset book, the Growth of Fixed Mindset book is great. You Are a Badass by Jen Sincero. That book, it changed my life, Tommy. It was such a great book. I read it almost every year at the moment, to be honest with you. I don't know why I said at the moment. I didn't mean that for the last 5 years or so. But if somebody said to me, how do I get started? First thing I would say is look out for free resources. And there are so many free resources. Your YouTube channel is fantastic, and I'm not just saying that because we're on the channel. But there are loads of YouTube channels. Emma Louise Hamilton, she was one of the first YouTube channels I found. And she was one of the girls that did it because she was in a working class background. She said, I'm working full time, I'm skid, and she documented the whole thing. Emma Louise Hamilton is the exact name of my first wife. So it freaked me out a little bit when I first saw her name, and luckily it wasn't her. But I had to look through that, and then I thought, right, I'm going to do what she did. I'm going to follow that model, and I'm going to document it. And that was kind of one of the reasons why I ended up going down that road, because I thought that was inspiring to me. There are so many people out there that have done it from scratch with no education on it and no background in it. And the beautiful thing about Amazon, it seems to be almost universal for all of us. Everyone that's ever made it was where I am now.
No, it's fascinating. I know Emma. I've met her before. I actually did a live interview with her. Like, went to the warehouse, saw everything. That was I think it's twice actually I've done it. Yeah, really good fun. Like, lovely girl. I'm going to reach out to her soon because it's I've not met her yet, and I want to say thank you to her. She doesn't know this. Over in Birmingham, check it. Go visit her. Lovely, honestly, really good. Getting started is a real challenge, but I think getting that feedback loop is kind of like the dopamine hit. Wow, this works. Okay, cool. What else can I do? And the quicker that you can make that kind of like hit of action, reward, the more likely you're going to build that momentum. There's a really interesting survey. I'll tell this because it's slightly off point. I heard it from Alex Hormozi, and he talked about it whereby there was a study in regards to how to train dogs. And it said, like, if you get a dog to do something and then you give it a reward, it will learn it pretty quickly. Like straight away, like, biscuit, well done. If you wait 30 seconds, it takes like a couple of weeks longer. If you wait just 1 minute between action and reward, it will not learn it. And what's really interesting is like it's our ability of our brains, and like we have a longer time frame, it's our ability of our brains we will continue to do actions when we are rewarded for them. So the quicker you can make that action reward, the better like you learn, the faster you learn, which is really interesting because you're like, action, do this, it works, fantastic. And if you can do that, and like I love your private label, you're like, cool, I do a month and then I have to buy something and I wait 3 months and then eventually get selling 6 months later and you're like, oh, it's too long. Whereas OA, Arbitrage, is absolutely brilliant for that. I love it. You talked about the journey. The goal is 100,000. How's it going so far? Talk me through the results.
Yeah, no problems at all. So first month, we still haven't hit the ROI of our first month as for the rest of the month, just using Amazon only. just using Amazon only. That first month we hit 41%, but it was with £200 and we had no outgoings. So if you're starting with this, I would say to you, beast those free trials and be strategic in them. So we did 14 free days with one scanning tool, then 14 free days with the second scanning tool. In the meantime, I had a 10-day free trial with an online ARB scanning tool, and then another one. So we hammered everything without laying any money out. So the first month was great. We have scaled up every month with the other income streams coming off the back of it, because as my socials grew, as did all of the other opportunities like YouTube ad revenue, affiliate marketing opportunities. I wrote an ebook, so we've knocked out a digital ebook. We offer mentoring for beginners. And then what's happened off the result of all of that is we are, up to just shy. Sorry, as of last month, we were just shy of 17,000. I don't want to give away the results of month 12 yet, Tom, but we're over the 17,000 now. But incredible.
Question for you, are you happy to share about just the Amazon side of that? Like, because I appreciate you've combined it all. Like,
yeah, well, hang on a minute. I'm going.
Do you know it?
I don't, to be honest with you. I haven't got the actual numbers. I can tell you that it's always over 30%, always. But the outgoings, we're starting to invest in other things. So sometimes not all of the money goes back into stock. Sometimes all of the money goes out into other ventures at the moment. So Steve, my business partner, and I, we're trying to get a wholesale account up and running. So we're setting up a website, setting up a facility to take pallets and things like that. So we're investing out a lot at the moment. Everything is scaling up. At the moment, hands on the table, no problems of saying this at all. The mentoring is bringing in the most money, naturally. But after that, Amazon is the second biggest income stream. Yeah, and it's the thing that I will hang my hat on. Despite all of the other money coming anywhere else, I truly believe that Amazon will be my long-term income. It will be the most sustainable. It will be the most scalable. Everything else is kind of fixed at the moment, but Amazon is growing every month.
Some people might be watching now and might be like, oh, you're making more money from the selling than actually the doing. I think the thing is like, I know lots of sellers who do one-to-one mentoring, and they do the mentoring of like $3,000, $4,000 for like 3 months. It's like $1,000 a month. You know, I'm like a multi-7-figure seller. I do 2 marketplaces. I just don't have the time to manage so many people. But if you're like on this, like this is like, I'm a $100 million seller. This is, I've not started. Along that journey, no matter where you are, there's always someone who wants to get to where you are. And there's always the opportunity to say, hey, I'll help you. Absolutely fine. But in return, like, I will ask for something because I'm going to be taking time away from my business. And like, by the way, it's a really good way to share what you're doing, because number one, sharing is great at solidifying your knowledge by teaching others. It's like, if you really want to learn something, teach. But then number two, you generate cash to reinvest in your business. So it helps you scale quicker.
Absolutely right. I can hand on heart say every single income stream is being reinvested into something Amazon related, whether that's stock or infrastructure to grow the business in Amazon. Everything just gets reinvested back in. But you're dead right. I mean, the mentoring program we do is specifically for beginners in the cost of living crisis, whether across the Western world, truth be told. But in saying that, we've trained people from the Philippines. We trained people. There was a guy in Taiwan, English, but he was in Taiwan, and he said, I can go to the factory and get a drone for 50 quid and sell it for 400. Like, yeah, good for you. Yeah, we're training people in Germany and in the States, but it's £250 because it's relative. I can't offer something that isn't of value to people, and all we do is train the fundamentals, get them to the crossroads where they go, well, I've got £400 a month extra, that's a bill or a date night, or I've now got the ability to scale up. And that's kind of what we want to do. And you're dead right, it's increased my own knowledge. Wow, I can't even put a number on it, Tom.
And by the way, like, we're all on this journey of like trying to better ourselves, and I think that's a really important point. By also giving back and sharing, that's a great thing. And you do it through the YouTube, you do it through the TikToks, but also some people are like, hey, can I give you money, and like, can you teach me a bit better? And like, fine, no problem. There's nothing wrong with that. What have you learned on this journey? Like, what is the advice that you've learned that you're like, I wish I'd known that?
So much about myself that I wouldn't have known about without starting this journey. When you are part of the machine, when you are a cog in the wheel, so much is taken for granted. You've got your defined pay at the end of each month. You've got your defined budget of how much you can spend. Invariably, you'll go over that. And everything is taken care of for you. Your decision making, you're just part of some wider decision making matrix. I hate that, not the matrix word, framework, that's better. You're part of some wider decision making. So even my job, it feels like I've got autonomy, but of course I haven't. I have to make a decision based on the parameters that my job allows me to take. And what this has done is it's given me absolute autonomy to forge my own path. If somebody comes up to me, this hasn't happened by the way, and says, I want to work with you, and I don't like them, I've got the power to say, no thanks. And it's better for your soul to work with people that you like. But I've learned an awful lot about the lies that are told on social media. I've learned an awful lot about my own assumptions that proved out to be wrong. My own mindset, which has evolved over the time. Initially thinking off the top of my head, I initially thought, I can do this. I don't need a course. I don't need to invest in a mentor. I can figure this out as I went along. About 3 months in, I thought, nope, I'm going to need some help. So I kind of bought a wholesale course and I bought a private label course. And I realised then that I still wasn't ready for it. Even now, with the 17,000 in the bank, I'm still not enough to go into private label with all of the outgoings that I've got going on. I realised one of my earlier TikToks was scaling from 200 to 30,000 is going to be really tough. But scaling from 30,000 to 100,000, that's going to be a breeze, because by then I'll have systems and processes in place. Well, a load of tosh. A load of tosh.
I got to 3.4 million with very few systems and processes. I'd put it that way. So, yeah.
And was it easy, Tom? Was it easy?
Oh, hell no. I had 20 staff in one business doing that with that much money. And by the way, we implemented, I had processes in my admin, but the purchasing thing, we've changed so much since then and learned so much.
I tell you what I will say is from the very start, I was always confident that passive income wasn't a thing. And I stand by it.
Why? Everyone tells you passive income, man, this is what you need to get.
Yeah. What drives it? And I talk about this on my post. People talk about passive income and they talk about side hustle in the same sentence. How can you talk about being passive and hustle at the same time, in the same breath? It's impossible. They contradict each other. But having gone down the Kindle Direct publishing route, which is, just write a book and put it on Etsy, no probs at all. Come on. And you can try it because it only takes you 20 minutes to do. But then 2 months later, you're wondering why you're still on page 256 on the Etsy list. Everything takes work, persistence, building a following, building an ad campaign, putting everything in place. And even Amazon FBA, which is one of the more passive side hustle second businesses you can do, you're still doing your pricing strategy every day. You're still managing your team if you've got a team. Every system and process you've got in place, there's checks and balances and controls that need keeping on top of, right? Because if it falls down, it all falls. Yeah. You and I are of the generation as well, where there is no such thing as easy work. There is no such thing. But I feel that the younger generations coming through, they might not have grown up in the same world that we did, where everything was hard work and dedication and resilience. Those are the pillars to grow anything. So when you come up with someone and go, here's 10 grand for the broken lazy, pack it in. If you're broken lazy, you aren't going to make a tenner, never mind 10K. But yeah.
There's lots of things there, what's it called? I have property, and that's still not passive. I still have to do tax returns. I still have to manage emails from the agents who manage the property for me. So it's really passive. And it's tenant's gone again or hasn't paid the rent. They're doing it. Can we do this repair? Yes, you can do this repair. It's over the amount. So there's always work. Nothing is truly completely passive. And I think it's a lie. And if you go into that respect, you go into the wrong state of mind. I think the other one that I find really interesting is the fact that if you look at millionaires who've won the lottery, the majority of people who win the lottery end up worse off than they did when they first started. And what's interesting is if you can't look after $10, good luck looking after $1 million. You'll just lose it. And
they're lacking a purpose as well. If you win that money and you haven't worked for it, you haven't found that purpose within yourself. The millionaires that keep their money are the ones that find a job or find a task to keep on top of it and tick over. Because I don't think we as people, humans, are meant to sit still. I don't think we are.
Human beings are the only animals in the world which don't naturally rise to their potential. They fall to lowest. And that's because of our brains. Wherever all the animals rise up. It's really interesting. I think, Atomic Habits, amazing book, and it kind of again, just building great habits. And then she said the money is an output of what the actions that you're taking. And if you focus on the right actions and keep doing them consistently, you will have more money than you know what to do with. I think that's good. Question, you talked about lies there on your journey. What are the common misbeliefs, the lies, the things that, Tom posts on his social media, which is a load of rubbish. What have you learned? Tell us about it.
The biggest one is that sourcing is easy. That's the biggest one. Oh yeah, no problems. Just click here, and you see it in social media. How many times? How I made £20 in Tesco in 5 minutes, and then go, Bob, here it is. This one sells this much for a profit. I've literally got a post in my drafts. I've got 2 versions of it. One where I find 50 quid on the floor in Tesco. That's how I made 50 quid in Tesco. And the second one is me walking out of Asda, flipping the V's, then going back to my desk and actually working. They drive me mad. And there are thousands of them, aren't there? Thousands of them. People in the shops. Oh, I found this in B&M. And then I get people in the Facebook group, in our Facebook community, saying, I've been in B&M for 2 hours. I can't find a thing. Oh, I know. And you don't want to say, of course you didn't, because they've been lied to. It's demoralizing for anyone that wants to be a new seller. All it takes is them looking at the wrong TikTok, and that's their mindset flipped.
What advice do you have for people who are in that situation? They got into it because they thought it was easy money. They thought they'd go in B&M and make 50 quid, not on the floor. What advice would you say?
Yeah, it's a great question. Due diligence is everything, and it's one of those terms, isn't it, that gets bandied about. But if you see something that's too good to be true, you owe it to yourself to explore it to see if that's the case, because all that glitters isn't gold, right? But again, going back to what we talked about, there's so much free resource. There are communities out there. There are so many Facebook communities that are great. Not every Discord is a payable Discord. You can go and join a Discord and just go scope it out, because I can guarantee you, if you're in a Facebook community long enough, you'll find someone moaning about the difficult stuff, because naturally that's what everyone wants to do. But if you're determined, you'll also be searching for success or searching for success stories. But before you get started, you do need to do your research. You need to check everything out, or even just give it a go and find out for yourself. But be prepared that if you do have a setback, it's the resilience that makes people. Because how many times I've seen Hayden Davidson and Luke Colwell, they're perfect examples. How many times do they say, stay the course, learn from your mistakes? Everybody that's made it as an Amazon seller stuck the course. And well, you're testament to that, Tom, as well. I'm sure you faced a few challenges along the way, mate.
I lost money in my first year.
See? A whole year? That's a year's investment. That's massive that you overcame that.
Again, what's the saying? I haven't lost if I don't quit. And again, it's all just your time horizon. The longer the time, if you're in, if the price goes down, it'll come back up again. The time horizon. That's it. It's really interesting. Yeah, absolutely fascinating. I think the only other kind of thing I would add to that as well. Have you heard of the 10,000 hour rule?
Oh, sorry. Yes, I have. That's the where there's no natural talent, is there? Everything's learned 10,000 hours. Yeah,
it's kind of like mastery. If you want to become a master, do 10,000 hours, and if you spend 10,000 hours doing anything, you'll become really, really good at it. And if you think about it, is you've got to spend a lot of time before you become that's like 5 years. And what you got to realize is that you can't just go into Tesco tomorrow, start scanning, and do 1 hour and expect to be getting good results of people who are probably on YouTube doing it for 11 months for yourself, or 7 years for me, I think it is now. It takes time. If you could do 100 hours of something, then make a decision. And if you still can't do it after 100 hours, fine, move on. That's probably 10 weeks every weekend, consistent thing. If you did that, I think you'd be fine. You'd have no problem. But what we do is we go in and we go, I've scanned 5 things, they're not profitable. Why can't they do it? It's if that was that easy, everyone would quit their job tomorrow and just become Amazon sellers.
And especially when they're scanning the club card voucher points, and you think, well, that's what everyone's scanning. Of course it is. But yeah, completely agree. I saw a tweet from Mr. Beast where he talked about his YouTube followers for every year of his birthday, and from 12 to 16 it was 400, and I'm thinking, I've got more than you, mate, and I've only been doing it a year. It's just his sheer perseverance, and it's the same, isn't it? Exactly right.
You got to keep going, just keep going. Any other advice that you'd offer for people who are getting started, maybe about some of the lies or common misbeliefs that you'd say, here are some 3 top tips that you'd recommend for them?
Yeah, lower your expectations on the amount of money you will be making in the first 6 months. You will be working your hardest and your longest for the tiniest amount of money in the first year or so. Anything that you put in, you need to expect a turnaround, and you won't get your money back for 4 months. Worst case, not even worst case, average scenario, you could so if I put my £200 up in January, I'm buying stock, I'm sending it in, that can take anything up to 3 weeks. It then sells, which can take anything up to a month if you've read the data, or if you're lucky that you haven't got a tank listing. Sometimes it can take 2 months. It then goes in the account reserve for 3 weeks, and then you eventually get paid. So there's that constant cycle. So you're going to have terrible cash flow issues when you're getting into it, and you're going to be working really hard for very little money. The way I compensated that on my journey is that I was borrowing money out of the joint account to keep my cash flow ticking over, and then paying myself back once the disbursements came through. But that's the biggest one for me. The biggest tip I can give new starters is lower your expectations about how much money you're going to make in the first 6 months.
If I'm not going to make any money to pay myself, let's say, for example, the first year, why should I do it? Like, I'm just wasting my life.
Ultimately, if we got started today, let's say you watch this video and you feel inspired to get going and you start today. Come and join my Facebook group first. Then this won't, it won't pay for Christmas. It won't pay for your summer holiday next year. And it's very unlikely, to pay for Christmas next year. But the one after that, the 2025 Christmas could potentially be the best in your life. And then every single Christmas after that will be beyond your wildest dreams. This is the important thing. Manifestation is so important to me. I won't stop putting it out there knowing it will come back. And I can either look at this in 2025 and say, look what I've done, look what I've achieved, look at the life I've forged for my family, my kids, and I've given them a purpose and they've seen their dad build something from the ground up. Or I can look back and go, you know what, I had a good run, but that month that hit me, that one. I'm glad I stopped. I've paid a chunk of bad debt off, but oh well, I just slip back into my lane and just carry on doing my day job. There's no choice there, is there really? It's a no-brainer. 2 years go so quick. If you think about it, 2 years ago, we were still in the middle of COVID. How quickly has that gone? It flies by. That's the best advice I can give, really. It won't be a short-term fix, but long-term, it could be the best thing you've ever done.
I think the one thing I kind of give advice to people is, like, if you were to get a job today, you might be earning more than the average in 10 years' time. But if you were to start a business and work on it hard, you'd be way outstripping that in 5 years' time. And then after that, you have something that you can hire people for, they can do it for you, you can start, then you're starting to talk in millions. And now, like, there is no cap. That's the thing that you're building. There is no cap. And if you're willing to do the hard work, you have so much opportunity. And business is infinite, should we say. Why document the journey? Why get yourself on TikTok? Why do all this? Like, most people are scared.
Yeah, no, I understand that. And it's not for everyone. It's not for everyone. You're exposing yourself to a world of crazy. Some of the comments I've got, people were saying I look like Lionel Messi, I talk like Michael Caine, and then and I've had my ears pinned back. None of those, well, actually I do sound a bit like Michael Caine, but the other two aren't true. Okay, so there was a couple of reasons. Number one, like I said before, I wanted to hold myself accountable. I wanted to document it so I can say, well, people are expecting now. Number two, I wanted to look back, like Emma Hamilton, I wanted to look back in 2 years' time and go, there it is. That's where I've come from. There will always be that thing out there in public knowledge documenting a guy in my situation in 2022 made it. And number three, most importantly, I knew it was the building blocks for other income streams. Because of all of the things that I've done on the affiliate marketing research, the Kindle Direct Publishing, the print on demand, the drop shipping, all of the other crap that I've been learning without needing to know the knowledge from, everything went back to you need a following. Everything. So I thought, right, I'll do that then. I'll start building a following, and then that will open up YouTube money. That will open up affiliate marketing money. That will open up an audience for any digital books or any mentoring. Mentoring wasn't on my radar, but I knew opportunity would come off the back of that. I didn't know how much opportunity, Tom, and I didn't know how much my networking would expand through the back of the socials. I've met and been in people's companies that someone with my level of knowledge, someone with my level of experience, I shouldn't be. I mean, here I am, look, I'm on your channel. That's incredible. I shouldn't be here. I'm grateful. But there are so many sellers that have come before me and not had these opportunities. And it's the socials that done it. What I'm most proud of, mate, I've got to be honest, and what I enjoy the most is the podcast. I'm sort of 8 episodes in now. And when we talk about finding a purpose, I love that. And I really want to make that the best it can be.
No, I love it. I think it's really good. But it's, your network is your net worth. I think it's such an important thing. And by the way, we talked offline. I said, like, network with people who have, it's like attach your dreams to a star, because they've find the star, the person who's already been there, and just copy what they're doing. I even have it on my phone. It literally says copy what the experts do, then try and figure out how to do it better. Because too many times I think I could do better than them, and I end up getting half the result. I'm like, well, you're stupid, Tom.
Like you were saying about Atomic Habits, the James Clear book, there's such a clear line in that where it says do what you want to do because you're taking on the persona of somebody successful. So I'm not going to say I'm going to make £2 million on Amazon sales because that's what Tom Parkinson did. I'm going to say I'm going to make £2 million in sales because that's what it takes to be a success. That's what successful people do. I don't eat a salad because I want to be healthy. I eat a salad because healthy people eat salads. That tiny difference. It's a mindset change, and all of a sudden it puts you in that. So if I act or behave in my business like you have done, I can't go wrong. That's a biggie for me.
Yeah, I've like networking has also broken limiting beliefs. When I did 3 million, I think it was at 2 million at one point. I was like, I'm a pretty big OA seller. Went to America and I met a guy doing 10 million OA in his second year, and I was like, okay, I am nothing. And I didn't even think you could get to 10 million, but I learned so much from him just from that, and I think it's so important. Future plans. What does the future look like?
Keep growing. I in my head at the moment, and I could come back in a year's time and say, wow, that was wrong. But currently, right now, I can see Amazon being one avenue and what comes out of the socials being the other. Ideally, what I'd love to do is monetize the podcast. I'm a long way from that, but that's what I want to build. And then at the same time, Amazon sales off the back of that. We're also looking to scale up everything that we do. As a family, my wife and I, we're building our storefront as well as the wholesale stuff that I'm doing with Steve. So it's all on track. First and foremost, I need to finish the challenge. Then we're kicking on.
Then the new challenge. I like it. If anyone wants to get in contact with you, what's the best way?
Oh, please come and join the Facebook group. It's such a lovely community. We're like 6,000 strong in there now. And we've got the experienced sellers in there. It was lovely to have you in there, Tom. We've got the experienced sellers in there, and we've got the new sellers. And what I love about it, everyone's so generous with their time and generous with their knowledge. You can pretty much search for most topics in there now and you'll find a decent answer. So Facebook is a great one if you want to get started and you want to connect. TikTok is where I'm usually monologuing. You're welcome to come along and watch me monologue. YouTube and Apple and Spotify is where you'll see or hear the podcast as well. Those are the best places.
Fantastic. I love it. If anyone wants to know, have a look down in the description. I'll put all the links there so you can see it. Des, I just want to say thank you so much for your time. Thank you for so much sharing and obviously being honest about what you've learned and getting started and the journey and the lies that you've seen or the false beliefs, should we say. I think it's so helpful for people in the journey and doing it. So do check them out. Do obviously see everything down below. But Des, I just want to say thank you so much for your time. And hopefully in a year's time, when the weather in the UK turns nice again, I'll fly over and obviously we can do an in-person interview and you can give me an update on how the journey's going.
That would be great. Thank you so much, Tom. Really, really, really glad to be here.